evening, everyone. Good evening. May I kindly ask your attention? We'll begin our evening program. Please, may I have your attention? So I have the great pleasure tonight to introduce a welcoming speaker. That's Barbara Lavernos. She's the Executive Vice President of Operations for L'Oréal. And I'd like to invite Barbara to please take the stage and welcome us.
President Amina Gourib Fakim, Professor Laurence Tubiana, Mrs. Clara Guémard, Mrs. Jacqueline Frandroux, dear participants at the Women's Forum Global Meeting. I would like to thank the Women's Forum on reaching tonight the crucial milestone of the COP21 conference in Paris. I'm thrilled to be here tonight and honored to join three women I admire so much. Three women who believe as passionately as I do in the boundless promise of energy and collective potential. Alongside scientists and politicians, I'm pleased to testify tonight that the private sector is already engaged in a deep transformation. Obviously, on a critical issue such as the climate change, governments representatives, scientists, civil society are key players. But we, private sector, are and must be as much highly committed, engaged, and relevant. The way we do operate is also part of the game changer approach. I want to quote the governor of Washington, Jay Inslee, who said, "We are the first generation to feel the impact of climate change, and we are the last generation that can do something about it." Therefore, climate change is a crucial issue we all have to face. Actions can no longer be delayed, that is a given. Each of us has to move forwards, each single actor. And as said previously, the private sector has to change its way to operate. We all know the aim of the COP21, to limit the global warming to 2 degrees. Yes, Paris Agreement must be a turning point and must send a loud and clear signal to citizens and to the international community. It must send also a clear message that there are solutions. It is an individual challenge and it is a collective responsibility. And by collective, I mean the alliance of all actors, because civil society, scientists, customers, politicians, investors, suppliers, employees, we are all here interconnected and interdependent. Coming to private sector, a portion of private companies is embarked and is ready to efficiently achieve the low-carbon transition. Now, the name of the game is to get urgently a vast majority of them on board. That's why business leaders have a key role and a key responsibility to play. A key responsibility in order to drive the agenda in terms of setting ambitious goals, implementing concrete solutions, promoting innovation, engaging their suppliers, raising awareness around them. And in this room tonight, business leaders are conscious of their higher sense of purpose, which is not just about maximizing profits and shareholder value, but having a positive impact. This is the new paradigm. And we have no time left to waste for the fundamental paradigm shift. Growth and sharing, resources management, investment choices that provide not only direct return on investment, and the new set of key performance indicators, including positive impacts. Leaders must also, by the chain reaction they can drive, lead among all the stakeholders, from suppliers to end consumers. Some companies have already started to reshuffle their strategy in that sense. And if the Women's Forum asked L'Oréal to share about it tonight, it is certainly because, as the beauty leader, we have already embraced this new dimension in the way we drive our company. As part of our DNA, the vision of L'Oréal is to bring beauty for all. Beauty expresses itself in many ways. We believe in the beauty of protecting the environment and biodiversity, the beauty of supporting communities and providing security for employees, the beauty of delivering desirable and sustainable products for women and men who trust us. Let me highlight some key figures about L'Oréal. Number 1 cosmetic group in the world, 78,000 employees, 32 international brands, 22.5 billion sales, and 6.3 billion of beauty products manufactured last year in our 43 factories. L'Oréal wants to become one of the leaders of a new economic development model among all industries. That the aim of our ambition and ambitious strategic program called Sharing Beauty with All. It is a long-term sustainable development program fully integrated into our business strategy. This program covers the whole value chain, from sustainable innovation, sustainable production, sustainable consumption, but covers also our relationship with our suppliers, our employees, and the community in which we operate. It is designed to address all the impact we do have. It is about real, tangible, and measurable commitments at each step of the value chain. It is about the involvement of each team in the company, and it is about the inclusion of all the stakeholders acting at each step of the process. Let me give you in 1 minute some concrete illustration. First, we have decided some years ago to decouple our growth from our environmental footprint while having a positive social impact. It was a main stake at that time, and many people had doubt about it, but we have shown that it is feasible, and I can tell you that it is an incredible opportunity of collaborative innovation and teamwork. The result is that, with regard to our manufacturing, although we have a very limited greenhouse gas footprint, we were able to reduce by 50%, 50, in absolute terms, the CO2 emissions of our operations between 2005 and 2014, while increasing our production by 22%. A second illustration. Reinforcing its commitment to fighting climate change, L'Oréal announced September 3 this year its ambition to become a carbon-balanced company by 2020. Through its sustainable sourcing, the group aims to generate carbon gains corresponding to the amount of greenhouse gas emission linked to its worldwide activities. More than that, since L'Oréal suppliers' activity represents 28% of its carbon emissions, L'Oréal believes such activity should be part of its broader environmental footprint. Therefore, since 2009, the group has involved its supplier in measuring and reducing its carbon footprint by asking them to join the Carbon Disclosure Project initiative. Third and last key illustration, which is a real game changer, the product CSR index. We have developed a product assessment tool to evaluate the environmental and social profile of 100% of all our new products. We have committed that all our new beauty products will have a positive environmental or social impact compared to the previous existing products. And all brands will make this information available to allow consumers to make sustainable lifestyle choices. So those three examples illustrate how we do commit, engage, and deliver, and how we walk the talk when it's come to be a leader in the private sector that takes its own responsibility in this paradigm shift. To conclude, I want to share a personal strong belief. Having been part of all these new changes within my company, L'Oréal, facing first called unachievable challenges, fighting to identify solutions, participating in debates to set new ways of working, investing in incredible innovative technology, we came from how to make it happen to a very exciting, inspiring, and meaningful dynamic for change. There is still a long way to go, and not to say that we achieve all our goals. But the thing is, it is today, for a company like mine, for our managers, for our employees, a very positive and aspirational journey. And for sure, climate change experts, COP21 representatives are right to raise the dramatic issues the world is facing, are right to create a sense of urgency, are absolutely right in being stressful to get all players around the table dedicated to find solutions. But I also strongly believe that climate change wording and programs have to find the way to be inspirational, to embark also citizens in a positive spiral. And in that sense, women can and must be on the front line of the transformation, in supporting new paths, sharing knowledge, shifting paradigm. Caring is the heart of the issue. Taking care, care about, caregiving, and care receiving. It is a new paradigm where women have a key role to play. Obviously, women have to participate in debate and mobilize while it's come to the philosophy of care. Care for the future, care for the planet, and care for the humanity. I thank you for your attention. Wish you a good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll switch microphones here. Thank you very much, Barbara. It's interesting, and certainly these welcome remarks were very apt for the conversation we're going to have next. It's interesting to hear about the role of the private sector in the upcoming climate talks, and certainly to have the example from L'Oréal. And thank you for underlining the important role of women in this dialogue. We've heard a lot about the Paris meetings now, and indeed, the climate conference is a very large event. 50,000 participants will descend on Paris in the month of December, 25,000 of which are official delegates coming from civil society, from the United Nations, from governments. And those discussions will hopefully produce results that we're all eager to hear about and certainly proud of. The discussion that we'll have next is moderated by Julia Martin-Lefebvre, who you met earlier this evening. I'll invite her to the stage, and she will be having a dialogue with some very important invited guests who know about these talks intimately and who will share some of their thoughts, ideas, and aspirations with you. So Julia, I can invite you to the floor.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank Barbara for reminding us that this issue is about the mind and the heart as well, maybe more than any other issue that we have to discuss. So let me introduce my two amazing panelists. First of all, let me invite Her Excellency, the President of the Republic of Mauritius, President Amina Gurib Fakim, to come and join us. I think you've been to this meeting before, haven't you? This is your first time. So, Amina, come and have a seat over there, if it's okay. And now I have the great pleasure to invite Professor Ambassador Laurence Toubiana, the Special Representative of France for Climate. A big job. Laurence, please. Thank you very much. So, let's start now. First of all, I imagine that there is no longer anyone in this room who does not know about the 21st Conference of the Parties, the COP. Lots of people say COP on the streets of Paris. I don't know if they know what it means. But it does mean the Conference of the Parties of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. So COP21 will be held in Paris, starting on the 30th of November until the 11th of December. Now, such COPs, as these meetings are known, are held every year, and they have been held every year since 1995, when the convention which was adopted in 1992, oh, thank you, which was adopted in 1992 at the Earth Summit. Who among you has been at the Rio Earth Summit? Some people. You too. Yes, you too, as a scientist. Me too, as a scientist in those days. Okay, let me just tell you that the COP, the Conference of the Parties, is defined as the supreme decision-making body of the convention. All 195 states which have ratified the convention come together to make important decisions. But indeed, this 21st meeting of the COP is really, everyone knows, it's the most important. Indeed, we are the first generation that understands, and we're the last generation that can do something about it, as Barbara said. So now we have two excellent speakers. I'm not going to take up any more time, and this is very important. I'm going to start with you, Amina. I'm going to call you Amina because we are here at an informal session, and you are a scientist to begin with. But I must say that I could spend hours introducing you. We're very proud of the fact that the Republic of Mauritius chose a woman, the first woman president of your country, and most of all, a scientist, a famous scientist. I also would like to remind you that Mauritius was the first country to ratify the Climate Convention, which is amazing. I actually knew that only slightly, but when I read about you some more. So really, this is important now. So let me ask you 3 little questions, and you answer them as much as you can in the little time that we have. So first of all, Madam President, dear Amina, I'd like to know whether this early engagement of your country, having been the first to ratify the convention, has produced its hoped-for fruits. Whether you feel that Mauritius is ready to face the challenges of climate change, and what are the risks and the opportunities of your country? That's the first question, and you can mix these up. Then the second one is, the COP21 in Paris is really seen by many of us as the last chance to do something meaningful. So what is your country's hope about what's going to happen on the 12th of December? I'm very concerned, we talked about this over dinner, that we quite often focus on the last minute declaration, then people go home and forget. We cannot afford to forget. So what's going to happen afterwards? And finally, a little bit of a personal question, because I am a scientist, and you're a biodiversity expert, one of the world's best. How do you see, I know you're going to be heading up your country's delegation, how do you see the link between biodiversity and the climate issue? That's a lot of questions. Over to you, Madam President.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator and Julia. Well, you rightly pointed out that Mauritius has been one of the first countries to have ratified the previous COP. And I think Mauritius has also ratified, one of the first countries to have ratified the Convention for Biological Diversity. I think these two conventions put together, I think, bring to the fore the idea that for SIDS, geography matter. And we are heading towards COP21. I think what this brings home to the fact, I think the leitmotif of all our effort is to bring to the fore increased resilience, less vulnerability, because we have this responsibility to the poor people. And we all know the impact that climate change, the burden that it will impose on those who are less fortunate. So I think all this brings together the idea that we need to be focused on post-December, after Paris, to come out with this resolution that will help not to go beyond this 2-degree centigrade issue that we have been talking about. But I think over and above this, when you look at the way that scientists, African SIDS especially, and I think SIDS generally, they have special requirements, they have special needs. Small island developing states, which of course Mauritius is, and Mauritius is one of the 34 small island developing states. I think we increasingly need to talk with one voice. We have to talk with one voice. We have to get our issues out there because we have special needs. Having said this, we are at a junction where we can no longer afford to be pacifist. We have to be activists. We have to be activists in generating data, information, and we will have to bring in cutting edge technology, which we are all hoping that beyond December 2015 we will have access to, because increasingly we know that technology will have a big impact. Now, when we talk about technology, when we also talk about what is going to come out in terms of document from COP, we are hoping that this document will be resilient enough, will stay beyond, because we know how fast technology moves. So we're hoping that this document will stay as relevant as possible for as long as possible. So we are hoping that this document will come and help to address these issues. Now, to come to an idea that you have focused on, which is biodiversity, increasingly, well, many times I think scientists, policymakers have led climate change to believe, for us to believe that it only concerns energy issues or environmental issues. And I think this is very far from the truth. And when we look at climate change, when we look at biodiversity, there is a very, very strong link. Because by addressing biodiversity, there is no altruism there. We are actually saving ourselves. And if you look at tropical biodiversity, where I come from, and here I point out a figure, it's very important to cite this. 1.4% of the entire land surface, which comprise, of course, of small island states, provide over 35% of the ecosystem services. And this is critical for, again, the poorer lot of our humanity. Now, to come back again to the issue of biodiversity, coming from an island like Mauritius, we are looking at the impact of the increase in temperature on the acidification of the ocean. And whenever we talk about acidification of the ocean, we are talking about coral reef, and this is our natural barrier. We are talking about the impact on the ecosystems in which these plants live, and ecosystemic changes have not really been addressed so far. And we are humans, we like our comfort zone. The plants too, they need their comfort zone. And they need to be protected, they need to actually survive, because through their survival, we ensure our survival as well. And just to give an idea to those people here who may not be aware of the tropics, we talk about the cloud forest, we talk about the plants at the canopy of the forest. Well, these same plants, if we don't do anything about it, they will disappear, and this will disrupt our entire water cycle. And these are issues which we have to consider when we talk about biodiversity in the widest sense of the word. And that is why there is this rush to go back and to save the plants. Now, we'll just end on a quick note, because when we talk about tropical biodiversity, we also talk about traditional medicine. And I was very pleased to have been vindicated this year's Nobel Prize in Medicine, because the lady UU2 has shown that traditional medicine, especially African traditional medicine, have relevance. And when I started this theme working a few years ago, I was a laughing stock. And so this year, after 25 years, it's good to see that this is being taken seriously. And again, this is very crucial for the evolution of medicine, because we know that 60% of the world medicine actually come from traditional medicine. And out of this, 25% come from medicinal plants. So again, our own survival in terms of antibiotic resistance, where herbal medicine will have a very key role to play. Thank you, ma'am.
Amina, I can't help but think how wonderful our world would be if we had more women presidents of countries. So, Laurence Toubiana, over to you. So, Laurence, I've had the privilege of knowing you for many years, for working with you in many places. Often we were the only two women in a room full of men. This is quite different, and it's very nice. And So you have two titles: the French ambassador for climate and the special representative of France, the host country for COP21. So I would like to know from you, what is it that you expect as the best possible outcome on December 11th for the conference? And very importantly, I think everybody really wants to know, what can I do? So what is your advice to the citizens of the world as to what actions they can take when the conference is over?
Thank you, Julia, and it's great to be here. And as you said, normally we're going to conferences or negotiation. It's very rare to see that proportion of women against men. Normally it's other side. Normally I'm speaking like you, among a vast array of men and some women here and there. And today, of course, it's very different, and it feels very good, I must say.
But we don't mind having the few men in the room.
No, we have to work all together, of course. But it's good, no? Let's recognize that. It's good. It's not that often we can do that. How I see what we can achieve in Paris. And maybe I can explain what the challenge is. Not the challenge of climate, you know it, but the challenge of changing the course of the thinking, the mindset, of in a process where traditionally from 1992 and Rio, the idea was that combating climate change was an issue for developed countries. The ones that polluted should be the one that repair the pollution. It was fair, but of course, looking at the way many developing countries, and that's good, has grown and wealth is increasing and middle income is flowing to more and more people and poverty alleviation is really there, we saw that now no more this division, this divide between developed and developed countries can solve the solution. And the challenge in Paris is no more to say maybe 10 or 15 countries would act and the rest could wait for action for later. But that, at the contrary, we have to act all together and now. So that is very complicated. But I must say, looking at what we have in our hands today, the awareness have never been so big. The awareness of the climate risk, as you mentioned, it's not only the risk for developed countries, it's a risk for everybody. At local level as at global level. For many sectors we are talking with on the impact on health, the impact on biodiversity, impacts of ocean, impacts of extreme events. So you know the story. I will not repeat it and we don't have time tonight. So the challenge is to act now together, every country. What does it mean? It means that every country has to look to the future in a very different way. The issue is not to let the growth on the side, the development on the side, is to decide that the new normal of development has to be radically different. And this agreement, you were telling, Madame President, that this agreement has to stay. It has to be the guidelines, the rules for many years, because this is a very long time process. And this is, again, the challenge. This is something we have to think for 50 years in advance. What are we doing now that will have an impact in 20, 30, 40 years? How we organize ourselves in our development pathway that make a huge difference on this. So the two key words are altogether, universality, and long-term, because you can't do that overnight. You have really to do over time and have a long planning. Planning is something that in our industrial societies people tend just to forget. But that's something, a new exercise we have to come in this discussion. Where do we are from this point of view? And maybe I can very shortly explain what I try to propose to the French government as a presidency to try to do a real good outcome in Paris. And of course, because the societies have changed, this perception of the risk have changed, the amount of solution available is of course there. There are much more maturity of the solutions. I propose that we have to consider Paris as an outcome coming from many circles, many actors, many sectors. So we have to have this agreement between governments because we have to have discipline in terms of commitments of emission reduction, in terms of adaptation policies, in terms of finance, and we have to really be serious, verify what we do, check back, and in a way having a discipline of cooperation. But we have to do a lot of things at home. And that's why we call this contribution. In our jargon, it's awful, so I will not use it. But the discussion on the national policies. By now, 151 countries has proposed climate plans, both for adaptation and for mitigation, meaning the reduction of emissions. This is unprecedented. This never happened. That's the first time 151 countries have discussed internally, where certainly many groups have opposed, discussed, what do you do with your coal, what do you do with your urban planning, what do you do with your transport, public transport, what do you do with forest and agriculture. That's the first time there is an open discussion on the long term. Just it's incredible that what is happening. And it's happening not only at government level, so our second element is really to have these domestic policies there, open, transparent, and really that was a fantastic experience that many governments experienced together with the civil society, the businesses, etc. Then we have to have the finance right, because this is about an immense investment program. So how do we finance this when, for the moment, we have this disconnect, sorry, I am an economist by training, between the propension to save and the willingness to invest. We are not, at global level, we are not investing enough. So this investment is a key challenge. But this investment has to go from very high carbon activities to the low carbon new activities. So this shift of the trillions of dollars we have to organize over time, this is the third challenge of Paris. And the final one is to get this mobilization, this, in a way, the way that because my ideal communique on the 12th of December is this low carbon economy has started. It's there. It's inevitable. It is desirable because it's much cleaner, it's much more efficient, it's much more innovative. But it's there, and it's an immense wave, which was very tiny 15 years or 20 years ago, but now it's a big wave. I'm not a surfer, so I don't know how you name these big mega waves. I'm sure somebody knows. But this, that's the type of thing we have to produce to Paris. An immense wave that say, yes, that's it, so it's better to go in the wave, but not to be lagging behind. So that's my mantra, and that's why it's so important to record that businesses, mayors, governors of state, of provinces, investors are taking commitments to say we are there and we will do even better if this agreement is strong enough. So that's what we have already. So Paris is already, in my view, a success because of this mobilization. Because the shift, you feel it. I met some months ago the CEO of Bank of America, which is an American bank, even if it's a very big one. And he says, anyway, we should not ask, is it bankable, is it profitable to do these activities for climate? It's simple, we have to do them. So the question is how we do that. Bill Gates will come to Paris to announce that many venture capitalists will invest in new technologies to really unlock this low carbon economy. So that's the success of Paris, it's already there. Now we have to have the government serious enough, but that's another story.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you. So I think, first of all, it's rather rare to hear these issues discussed without the normal gloom and doom tones of environmentalists and scientists and politicians, really. Both of you have shown that there is hope, there is a way. And the other thing that I hear from both of you, which is really dear to my heart, is that we can no longer divide the world into silos. You illustrated so well the collaboration between the small island countries and the very important scientific collaboration between the biodiversity specialists and the climate specialists and the economists and so on. Even though there were separate conventions, these are issues that belong together. And Laurence, you talk about finally, first of all, I love what you're saying. It's already a success. It's true. 151 countries and more are coming in. I know that. And these discussions at country level have really involved many more people than was done in the past. So, and then you talk about the universal nature. This is not about us and them. It's about all of us. And finally, I think we've heard from both of you, we're talking about the long term. Probably some of us will not see the dramatic effects of climate change unless we turn it around. But we've got to think long term. We have embraced the word sustainability since 1987. Now let's really do it. And it's a long-term issue. Now, I just got a note saying I only had about 1 minute, so we can't go longer than this. Do you want to say something about the declaration?
Yes, I have to say something very special. And thank you to just call me back to this. Just to crystallize this mobilization, the Women's Forum decided to launch a pledge to climate change, to action, and to the Paris Agreement. So this pledge will be represented by a big panel, a banner that is outside in the Discovery place. And I urge you to put all your names there, to say, and that I don't know if we will have the text somewhere. If not, I will read it very, very quickly. To all governments participating in the 2015 United Nations Climate Conference in Paris, we, the members of the Women's Forum Global Community, representing women from all sectors and geographies, pledge our strong support for the Paris Agreement, and we urge the government of the world to make a binding commitment to keep global warming under 2 degrees C, the threshold for preventing the severe, pervasive, and irreversible impact of climate change. We affirm that women are particularly vulnerable to the adverse effect of climate change, as women constitute the majority of the world's poor and are more dependent for their livelihood on natural resources. We also acknowledge that women are essential agents of change who possess crucial knowledge and expertise that can be used in mitigating the effect of climate change, disaster reduction, and in developing strategy for adaptation. For these reasons, we urge government to incorporate gender perspective into their national policies, action plan, and other measures on sustainable development and climate change. So go after to sign this thing, and that was a question you asked me. What can we do ourselves? Be an entrepreneur, be a scientist, be a citizen, act, just invent new businesses, innovate in technology, press your government, do politics, like Amina, and just we have to take responsibility. That's the best thing we have to do. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Laurence. So please join me in thanking Barbara Lavernos. Thank you, the President of the Republic of Mauritius, Ambassador Laurence Toubiana. Over to you.
And Julia, thank you as well. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to all of you as well. We're actually going to take a moment, if we can, and take a photograph. Is that something we can do? And we'll invite you to go back to those conversations that were engaging you so much earlier and to dessert that's going to be served now. We'll take a photograph on stage, and we'll encourage you, please, to go to the Discovery tomorrow, and please sign the pledge, as we heard about. So we'll do that. Thank you very much. If I could call Clara and Jacqueline forward, we'll just take a photograph.